Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture's Show and Tell, an overview and review of Three Sisters, designed by Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle, artists Marlies Behrens and Beth Sobel, published by Motor City Gameworks. Three Sisters is a 1 to 4 players game, which plays between 30 and 60 minutes, ages 14 and up. Hey there, I'm Norm, and this is Cardboard Conjecture's Show and Tell, an overview and review of Three Sisters. Let us start with the introduction and overview. So let's get a little closer here so you can have a look. As I'm talking about it, you can have a look at the player board. And so the introduction: the garden plot in your backyard is tilled and ready. The days are getting longer and the weather warmer. Your kids have come home from camp eager to teach you a gardening method called companion planting. This technique has been practiced by indigenous peoples for centuries to grow a trio of crops known as the Three Sisters: corn, beans, and squash. The corn provides a lattice for the beans to climb. The beans transfer nitrogen from the air to the soil, and the squash creates a natural ground cover that reduces the weeds and keeps pests away. Your backyard also includes perennials, an orchard, and even a beehive to pollinate it all. Fill your shed with tools and your garden with compost. Between managing your crops and taking occasional trips to the farmer's market, your summer is going to be packed with activity. Can you grow the best garden in town? And I hope so. Overview. So in Three Sisters, you will select dice from the action rondel. Let's move over and have a look at this. So as I'm describing, so let us just mimic what is going on here. So I will place appropriately, that you would see in a game situation, the dice. And let me get to 6 here. All right. And so, overview. In Three Sisters, you will select dice from the action rondel in order to take actions in your backyard. The value of the die determines where you plant or water in your garden, and the location of the die determines which other action you can take. 2 actions. As your crops grow to maturity, you will harvest them for goods and points, unlock bonuses from the tools in your shed, plan ahead for round end events, and trigger delicious action combos in other parts of your backyard. After 8 rounds of hard work are complete, the end result will be compared to see who can boast the biggest harvest. So that's pretty much what we call the nuts and bolts of the game. Let's kind of back out a bit here. Let's take you on a quick tour of this game system. So in the review process, I like to start off with going through the introduction, the overview, and quickly explaining how you score points and win the game. So in this case, as it said, whoever has the most points wins the game. Where you score these points, let's see how close I can get here. You will see these little blue ribbons. Oh, look at that. Okay, you see all those little blue ribbons and the round dots. This is a roll and write. Once you roll your die, I'm going to try and nice pan. So once you roll your die, or take your die, and so roll and write. In this case, I would take the 4. I would go over to this 4 zone in my garden, and I would either plant or water. And planting is basically as simple as checking off a box at the bottom. And thematically speaking, things grow up. So, yeah, you would plant on the bottom box. Now, you can't plant a second time in the second box. That's when you have the second option of watering. Here, I'm going to let go of the camera here. So that's when you have a option of watering. So if I would have already planted, let's give you a quick scenario here. There's an X there, there's an X there, there's an X there, there's an X there. If I go to water phase, well, I don't plant, so what I'll do is I water it. Well, these plants that are already have seeds will grow, right? That's that idea scenario. Now, as it says on the back here, there are secondary actions. We have the apiary or fruit, which is your beehive. And again, everything starts from the bottom and grows upwards. This is very cool because you get to branch out and have choices. And this is where this game comes into very, very cool concept. And I'll explain it later when I get into the system. But the options and the cascading events. Here's your tool shed. And I will quickly show you the tool shed and talk about it later. But in the tool shed, that's when you can organize your game system, game plan. I'm going to let go for a bit here. And develop a strategy, either in the beginning or something that is synergistically connected to the success of your garden. Goods, harvests, right? When you go to farmer's market, you'll need to bring goods to the harvest market to get points or benefits. So that's basically the idea of how to win the game, is to try and max out and try and get all these ribbons for such a successful garden and harvest. So opinions, let's get to some opinions and conclusions. Always start with the box and then move inwards, outside to in. And let's look at this box. How gorgeous is this? The two artists, as I had mentioned, Beth Sobel and the there's a secondary artist. I will not stop until I find this secondary artist. This secondary artist is not secondary. Marlies Berens. I am so sorry for the mispronunciation. I apologize. But let's get back to what's more important here. The art. Look at, it's got this watercolor influence style that has such an organic quality to it. The shading's beautiful. The social studies teacher in me, as you knocked it out of the park for me, because of, as far as civilization goes, one of the more important elements of civilization is agriculture. And it's about time we pay some respects to agriculture. And also kudos to going the distance on finding cultural consultants and making sure that you ground your facts and get get the right perspective on this. So yay, well done. I'm very impressed with that. And yes, agriculture, love it. Wait, are there enough agriculture Euro games? I don't think so. As you look over my shoulder, you can see, pretty much all of them. Okay, well, back to this now. So outside in. Now let's look at the, now again, this is going to be a quick one because we talk about the components, and it's pretty standard. Great set of dice. I love the fact that they took the time to get like the, this pearl essence, or I'm not even sure what the term is in the dice making industry, but there's a depth. There's a depth to these dice. And of course, the ones, pumpkins, good cardboard, lots of paper. I laminated mine already. So yeah, thumbs up on the components. Rule book, readability, layout, learning curve. I mean, it fits the size of the box, and the box is, I didn't mention, but it's like a 5x8 by 1.5 inch kind of thing. And the book is pretty clear. I always talk about foreground, background separation. They've done a great job here. The important words are bold-faced. There's great examples. It's a well laid out rule book, and there's some solos, so gotta appreciate that. Moving on, game system, game style. Oh, this is game 2 in their trilogy of Roll and Write, and they with Fleet the dice game, they came up with a very clever two-page player board system where and the dice mechanism of drafting, where you would in Fleet you would roll it, and then by the player in turn order you would draft a dice and take it out, and then the last one left everybody would have access to. There is kind of the same thing in this one, but instead of the drafting in just a series, because it would just be in a linear line, right? Or just, a presentation. In this case, they've one up the game, and they've created a situation where, let's go back to this board, where you have, I started explaining the areas, and I'll go into better detail now. You have this rondelle system where Farmer Edith will identify where you start the dice placement. Then once they're placed, we'll go to the the head of that line and start in a new situation. Yeah, apiary, planter water. So you get that action in the beginning in general. This is a kind of a double down area. Shed time, that's where you get to go to the shed, as I said. And the shed, some pretty great options here. Mason jar, pie safe, all of these shed benefits, and I'll just kind of quickly do a pan down or a travel down. All of these shed benefits synergistically connect with the part and function of the board. Very cool, very clever. Let's move on. The compost and the goods. The compost is your ability to manipulate the pip on the die backwards or forwards, and the and goods are goods. What is really cool that they've brought over from Fleet the Dice game is the star component. In the goods track, and I'll show you, I'm talking about it without showing you, shame on me. In the goods track, as you progressed on this track, if you cross out a star, that is a bonus box or circle that you can check off. That's where this game gets crazy, because it can cascade and you can create chain of events in regards to the action of one die selection. Awesome. Okay, that's what it can happen. But the goods do not give you the game, because the games come in those ribbon points. Let's go back to this board here. And then there's just repetition, right? You see 2 apiaries and fruits. And the fruit, same thing. I'll bring you to the orchard, because we didn't really talk about the orchard or the apiary. Apiary is very cool, because once you start your beehive, and for anyone who's in the hobby, there's a time where you need to establish your colony. Once that colony is established, there's so much variety and versatility to it. I think they did a great mechanical interpretation of this thematic element. And as you can see, that whole cascading thing, if I come in and go, oh, I've clicked a star, I get to check off another box, and you start to add 2 more goods, which potentially could check off another star. And you can see how this waterfall cascade, oh, so much fun. Down to the orchard, same kind of scenario. You have 4 tracks. Each, can we get that there? Yeah. Each track delivers a different ability. In the apples, once you get past a certain point, once the orchard is established, it just produces points. The peaches, maybe it's because peaches are so watery that every second, as you can see, every second box you check off is a water. And a water, you get to decide what zone that you can have, put the sprinklers on. There are no points, but that watering can contribute to you maxing out your crop in your garden, which can be huge points. The blackberries, just a solid harvest of blackberries, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. Down to the raspberries, goods, lots of raspberries, but to get points, you require lots of raspberries. So every interval, there's a 1 point. So you can go about this differently. And funny enough, in the shed, there is a related bonus mark, fruit bowl. Right now in the sheds, if you can see there's a good example. You can only activate that shed once you check off that final box. So you have to work towards this engine quality going on. Okay, so that's basically game system, game style. The unique mechanism, I believe, for me, is this game system this cascading game system that they're working on that has a 2-page player tableau. Now, I have not played Hadrian's Wall, and I've heard from others that it is quite the sheet. But I love how there is a connection of the production area and the engine area, and that's very similar to Fleet the Dice game. What I believe is unique in this case is their ability to implement a rondelle system. Let's go back to here. This rondelle system, because even in a solo game, some of these dice are going to be taken away from you, which tactically you have to shift. Yeah, fun. Well, does this all connect? I mean, it's a roll and write. Again, I told you the social studies teacher is gushing over the theme and their respectful treatment of the theme. And I see I see that there is connection. I see even simply in the garden, each garden plot isn't the same. They're unique. You have some corners that have a lot of pumpkins, and the pumpkins do not provide you with points, but they provide you with goods. And in between, if you can clear off 2 pumpkins, you check off a perennial. Now it's these perennials. If you can work on, like the licenses in Fleet the Dice game, these perennials, if you can finish tracks, those are spectacular bonuses. And the progression to get to there could be part of the engine of this game. So just so many different valves to this engine. Okay, yes, so as I said, I believe this does all connect. My conclusion, I'm a big fan, absolutely a big fan. We'll rewind a little bit. Fleet the Dice game, I have a passion for fishing, and I think they did a great interpretation of their card drafting game. And I was going to say stumbled upon. No, this was purposefully designed. I believe that the 3rd game that's coming out is going to be even kind of like a scaffolded next step, and I can't wait to see that because it's part of the motor car industry. I don't know if I said that. Oh, Detroit and Windsor's probably going, Westerner. Okay, so yeah, this is for me a fun game. I've played this a ton already, and I think what I love the most is exploring the different options in the shed derived engine, or the shed synergistically influenced engine that can happen. Sometimes you are at the will of the dice, but there is mitigation of that randomness. So digging it. As it says too, 8 rounds. At the end of each round, there's an event. So again, you have this ability, rain, your whole garden gets watered, right? So there, if you can time certain things, so much fun. This is, for me, as far as roll and writes go, top shelf, right? There's so much to be discovered in this game. So that being said, thank you so much for Cardboard Conjecture Show and Tell, an overview and review of Three Sisters. Wait, let's back this up. Of Three Sisters. Take care.